So I kind of want to make one thing clear. We may be talking about good news. However, that doesn't mean we're no longer interested in the Epstein files. So hello and welcome to Domytriesthis Too. I hope you brought your cuppa. Today's coffee mug says capitalism is a death cult. Because it kind of is. That's what we're watching, is the death of capitalism. We hope. Anyway, this is a mug I got for myself. I believe I got it off Etsy, and they have a whole bunch of other stuff that's similarly stanced. And in our capitalism is a death cult mug, I have the Republic of Tea Red Velvet Chocolate tea. I've had this tea. I enjoy this tea. This and the mint tea, but this tea apparently is also a favorite in the house, because this and my chocolate mint tea, my Christmas mint tea, are disappearing faster than any of my other teas, and I'm not drinking them all. At any rate, let's go ahead and get a sip so we can get started, including talking about what we're doing today. Kind of already mentioned it, right? Okay, it needs a little more time to steep. But as usual, I have 2 bags in there. We're just letting it do its thing. Alrighty, so I mentioned this on my personal page on Facebook. If you want to find that, it's listed down below. But basically, I don't know about you, but I know with me that I am getting very overwhelmed with all of the bad news of late. All of the things going on in the world are just, it's too much, people. It's too much. And I'm thinking that part of the reason that I am struggling emotionally and in so many other ways is because that's all we're hearing is this bad news. So I posted on my Facebook saying, what did people think about something that focuses on good news for once? And, most of my posts that relate to the channel don't get a whole lot of traction on my personal Facebook. I mean, I have one friend, hi Michelle, who likes everything, and I love her for it. But usually that's about it. I don't get a whole lot of comments. I don't get input, even though I'm asking for input. It's fine. Not everybody that follows my personal Facebook is probably even remotely interested in my channel, particularly since it started off as a beauty channel, and not everybody's into that kind of. I get it. This one got responses. And in general, the responses were, that would be awesome. So we are doing a whole different kind of video this time around. And we're gonna leave it. I've got stuff picked out. I do not know how long this will take. So we'll have to talk about it at the end and figure out if we like the format, if we want more or less good news, and if there's anything else that we want to do with it. That's where you come in. You're going to have to go ahead and do the things like subscribe and share, but also comment down below and let me know what you think and what you would like to have changed or different or more of or less of or whatever. I want to hear it all. I really want to hear it all. In case you can't tell, I am wearing my Resist frog sweatshirt. I thought this was a pretty good outfit to start off with. We are resisting, and we are going to be trying to hopefully make ourselves feel a little better. What I have in my notes is I have a title, I have a link that I can go to, and then I have a blurb from the link. Now, not all of these have a very long blurb. I will probably stick mostly to the blurb. You can tell me if you want longer blurbs, shorter blurbs, if you want more from the actual article. I would love to hear it. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get started with some good news. Giant tortoises have returned to, I'm going to butcher this, Galápagos? Galápagos. Galápagos? Of course, I had to pick something I can't pronounce. Galápagos Island after nearly 200 years, which is the important part. Giant tortoises are roaming the Galápagos Islands of Floriana for the first time in more than 180 years in what conservatives have called a hugely significant milestone. The release of 158 captive-bred juvenile tortoises onto the island is part of the Floriana Ecological Restoration Project led by the Galápagos. I'm terrible. And I apologize. I'm going to have to figure something out with my pronunciation sometimes. If I were doing it in Spanish, which it's not, because I do believe that these are Greek islands. So I don't know Greek. Galápagos National Park Directorate. The reintroduction follows a backbreeding program launched in 2017 after scientists discovered tortoises carrying ancestry of the Floriana giant tortoise on the nearby Isabella Island. So yay, we've got turtles in these islands that haven't been there for 200 years. Shows that conservation and taking the ecology can actually be quite successful. I'm quite pleased with that. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next one. Well, actually, I'll go ahead and take a look. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and do this from the article. Floriana's native species Chelonoidis niger was driven to extinction in the 1840s by the sailors who took thousands from the islands for sustenance during long voyages. The long-anticipated movement gives us hope, not just for the future of Floriana, but for the future restoration of islands around the world. The conservation project became possible after scientists discovered tortoises carrying the Floriana ancestry on Wolf Volcano on Isabella Island in 2008. They selected 23 hybrid tortoises with the closest genetic links to extinct subspecies and began breeding them in captivity on the Santa Cruz Island. By 2025, more than 600 hatchlings had been produced, with several hundred now large enough to survive in the wild. The GCT described the giant tortoises as ecosystem engineers and said they played an outsized role in restoring degraded ecosystems because of the way their activity shapes landscapes. Neat! We've got tortoises coming back. I'm happy with that. How about you? I love it. All right, moving on. We have next generation influenza vaccines could save millions of lives. The next generation of influenza vaccines that provide broader and longer lasting protection than existing seasonal vaccines could play a vital role in reducing the global burden of influenza, according to a recent World Health Organization assessment. Each year, there are around 1 billion cases of seasonal influenza globally, with 3 to 5 million cases leading to severe illness and an estimated 290,000 to 650,000 deaths from respiratory complications. While current influenza vaccines help reduce the burden of disease, their effectiveness can vary by season, product, and population group. Protection is limited to one season, twice a year. The World Health Organization convenes experts from global influenza surveillance and response system to issue recommendations for the influenza vaccine strain composition. While 143 countries reported to WHO that they have seasonal influenza vaccines available, upper, middle, and high-income countries use the majority of the influenza vaccine doses. Somehow not a surprise. The estimates that if improved next generation or universal influenza vaccines are available and widely used between 2025 and 2050. They could help prevent up to 18 billion cases of influenza and save up to 6.2 million lives globally, particularly among people at higher risk of severe disease, such as older adults, young children, and pregnant women. I wouldn't mind that. It would be nice if you have a universal thing like that. Maybe we could get to some of the more lower income and poorer countries as well. It'd be really nice to see where that would go. But it is really nice to see that we have a more universal vaccine that's more likely to be more effective, especially for the long term. Looking forward to that becoming more globally available. We won't get into the problems with it getting available in the US. However, more globally available would be great. I don't know about you. I have asthma and I have allergies and other breathing issues that can be triggered by something that's in my lungs. So I personally wouldn't mind having something that would prevent all those problems. I'm in that higher group, and I'm old. I know a lot of you don't think I look old, but I'm old. So I'm in those risk areas. Give me the vaccine, please. We are pro-science here. We are pro-science here. We don't mind a little bit of woo-hoo, keys and things like that nature, but we definitely rely heavily on the science in this channel. All right, next we have China's Yangtze River shows signs of remarkable recovery after fishing ban. Another ecological. The Yangtze River in China, which has been in ecological decline for 70 years, is showing signs of recovery thanks to a sweeping fishing ban. The ban was made more effective by the implementation of evolutionary game theory, which included finding alternative employment for fishers. Game theory. I'm wondering where that came from. Anyway, one veteran biologist said it was the most positive freshwater conservation story he had seen anywhere in the world in 20 years. It is really fantastic news. It is one of the first times that we can say that government measures have not just worked, but have really improved things, said Sébastien Brosset of the University of Toulouse in France. So, of course, I can't pronounce it. So Brosset was a part of the research team that analyzed the changes in the vast waterway, which serves a population of 400 million people and many of the world's largest factories. After the ban, the team observed fish biomass had more than doubled and several endangered species had rebounded. This tentatively positive news comes the same week as the latest analysis showed China's carbon emissions fell or flatlined in almost all major sectors in 2025. So they've got a twofer going on. This is the world's third largest river, stretching 4,000 miles from the glaciers in the Tibetan Plateau to its estuary near Shanghai. It was the site of one of the world's most shocking extinction events earlier this century with the demise of Baiji, a freshwater dolphin that was once worshipped as a goddess but was wiped out by pollution, dams, traffic, and reckless fishing with electricity and dynamite. Wow! Yeah. Chinese scientists had long called for a fishing ban on the Yangtze to halt the degradation of habitats and prevent further decline, which had fallen by 85%. But government restrictions were piecemeal until 2021, when a 10-year ban was put in place by the central government. The rapid improvement noted in the study, which compared data from the 2 years before, 2019 to 2021, with the 2 years after, 2021 to 2023, included a twofold increase in overall biomass and a 13% improvement in diversity. One of the most endangered species, the Yangtze finless porpoise, appeared to have been a major beneficiary, with observed numbers rising from 400 to 600. It just goes to show that we can control ourselves, take our environment into account, and fix it. Most of our leaders just don't want to. That's the problem. But we've got good news with the tortoises coming back, and now we have this river recovering with a bunch of fish coming back, including some endangered species. So that is really cool. Okay, so the UK's first geothermal site draws heat from 3 miles down to power 10,000 homes. This comes from Interesting Engineering and says after 20 years of drilling, debating, and massive investment, the UK's first geothermal power plant is live, and it is a moment 2 decades in the making. It has just begun to operate, and it uses hot water from deep underground to create renewable electricity. I honestly think that we need to get on the renewable energy train. Really do. And we were starting to, and I think we need to keep going. Solar, wind, now you can use hot water from deep underground. This is cool. And it won't, it doesn't do all the pollution. The United Downs plant in Cornwall has been in development for nearly 2 decades and will now begin providing enough electricity power to power 10,000 homes. Geothermal power generation comes via energy stored in the form of heat beneath the surface of the earth. And they had to drill deepest onshore well ever drilled on UK soil, over 3 miles deep. The naturally heated water exceeds 190 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that's Fahrenheit, but I think Celsius is, I think Fahrenheit is a higher number. It's hot. Generates electricity 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, regardless of weather. The water will help drive turbines to generate electricity and will also provide the UK's first domestic supply of lithium, a critical mining mineral used in green technology. I thought lithium was problematic. I can't remember why. But it's great that they're going to be using this water, this heat energy to power homes. I can get on board with that. Anything that is less pollution. So that is really cool. Okay, going into politics very briefly. This one will be short, and I'm going to keep it short deliberately. Spain denies use of bases for U.S. forces involved in war on Iran. Spain has denied the use of its military bases to U.S. forces involved in the joint U.S.-Israel war on Iran, including for refueling, objecting to unprovoked attacks that Spanish officials say are a violation of international law. At least 11 U.S. aircraft left military bases in Rota and Morón in southern Spain after the announcement. Aircraft trackers showed that at least 7 of the 15 U.S. planes that left Spain over the weekend went to Germany. Spanish bases are not being used for this operation, and they will not be used for anything included in the agreement with the United States or for anything that is not in accordance with the Charter of the United Nations, Spanish Foreign Minister José Manuel Albares said in an interview on Spanish TV on Sunday. Spanish Defense Minister Margarita Robles also said that the jointly operated bases have to comply with international legal frameworks in order for the U.S. to use them. So I don't know if you guys want politics. So let me know down below if you want the politics, if you want good news that are in the politics, or if you want me to avoid politics entirely. You just need to let me know. Okay? Now here's something that is political that I would love to see come to the USA. It won't. But Ireland's basic income for the arts scheme becomes permanent. Ireland is creating a scheme that will give artists a weekly income in the hope of reducing their need for alternative work and boosting their creativity. The basic income for the arts initiative will provide, is that C? I don't know what that is. It's $383 in US estimated a week to 2,000 eligible artists based in the Republic of Ireland in 3-year cycles. So I guess you get it for 3 years and then I don't know. So the Culture Minister, Patrick O'Donovan, said that the launch in Dublin on Tuesday, that it was the first scheme of its type in the world. This is a gigantic step forward that other countries are not doing. The scheme was a start and hopefully will be expanded. For the first time in the history of the state, we now have, on a permanent basis, a basic income structure that will revolutionize and in many ways set Ireland apart from other countries with regard to how we value culture and creativity. The permanent scheme follows a trial that ran from 2022 to 2025 to help artists during COVID pandemic shutdowns. Apparently, New York and San Francisco had similar schemes, but Ireland is believed to be the first country to make it permanent. The pilot, for which 2,000 artists were randomly selected from 8,000 applicants, lowered the likelihood of artists experience enforced deprivation and reduced their levels of anxiety and reliance on supplementary income, the study found. Peter Power, a member of the National Campaign for the Arts Steering Committee, said it was a real-world test of what happened when people were given stability instead of precarity. Artists on the scheme spent more time creating and less time trapped in unrelated jobs to survive, and many became better able to sustain themselves through their work alone. A more vibrant art sector brought myriad of benefits such as greater economic activity, improved mental well-being, critical thinking, and innovation. I think that's cool. As an artist myself, I wouldn't mind something like that. The only problem I can see is they would likely want to see a point where you no longer need to be on it, so you're making your own money and whatever. I just don't see that being. A thing for me. But you never know, I guess. I mean, if I didn't have to worry about it, I could really take some time and just invest in the art and figure out how to sell it. I mean, I have a place where I sell my art now, but I'm just getting out there, and I know right now times are tough, so I'm not expecting miracles, but yeah, I could see that being something really cool. That would be really nice. All right, so we have a heart warmer now. A dog that bolted into the Colorado mountains is reunited with its owner after a 43-day search. A lost dog who vanished into the Rocky Mountains has finally been rescued and reunited with his owner after 43 days in the wilderness. Stephen Ma and his girlfriend were moving across country from New Jersey to Los Angeles with their 10-year-old brindled mutt, Rocky. The name is a coincidence. Okay. I can see why they mentioned that. When they stopped off in a remote former mining town of Montezuma, Colorado, for a ski break on December 28th. But within minutes of handing Rocky over to a dog sitter, he got scared, slipped out of his harness, and bolted into the wilds. So Rocky slipped out of his harness, and he apparently bolted into the wilderness at about 10,000 feet above sea level. Ma and his partner searched the wilds until 3 a.m. Local time in a snowstorm, and then they contacted the Summit Lost Pet Rescue. This Colorado nonprofit quickly organized trail cameras, scent stations, and community alerts. After 3 days, a resident's front door security camera confirmed Rocky was alive, but the dog disappeared again. Rocky didn't want to be found. He wouldn't be seen for another 40 days. Brandon Ciulo, founder of Summit Lost Pet Rescue, said that vehicles, wildlife, and exposure are typically the biggest threats in cases like this. As the weeks passed without sightings, the team prepared to scale back efforts. Then on February 9th, a resident's ring captured a small black dog matching Rocky's description. They used Ma's clothing to create a scent trail, and rescuers set up a humane trap. Rocky initially entered but didn't trigger the trap. Ciulo reset the trap, adding peanut butter, and vowed, "I'm not leaving this goddamn mountain until this dog is in the back of my truck." Hours later, Rocky was secured. He had dropped about 50 pounds, but he still had energy, and he was returned to his owner, who was overjoyed. We are just overjoyed and just disbelief that he could survive that long. So now in California, Rocky is settling into his new home, and Ma shared acting like his old self. Heartwarming pet story. I've got one more of those in here somewhere, which comes right next. So, Ben's Playful Paws Cat Cafe celebrates its 400th adoption. Playful Paws Cat Cafe is celebrating a milestone after reaching its 400th adoption. The facility has provided homes for hundreds of animals since opening its doors in late 2023. 400 adoptions in 3 years. Probably shouldn't be surprised. There are a lot of cats out there that need homes. The cafe partners with the Cascade Canine Rescue East and West, a nonprofit organization based in Tumalo. This collaboration focuses on finding homes for cats that arrive at the rescue as either strays or when the owner surrenders. So they're given second life. Thank you, Cafe. Playful Paws. Thank you for taking care of the kitties. So this next one is happy news for artists and writers and creatives of all kinds. Stephen Thaler petitioner versus Shira Perlmutter, Register of Copyrights and Director of the United States Copyright et al. This was a petition for a right of certiorari was denied in Thaler versus Perlmutter. A right of that word, certiorari. If you're a lawyer, you can tell me how to pronounce that. Orders a lower court to deliver its record in a case so that the higher court may review it. If the order isn't approved, the previous court's ruling stands. The question presented in this particular right was whether the Court of Appeals correctly upheld the Copyright Office's refusal to register a claim to copyright an image for which no human author had been identified. The Copyright Office has imposed a non-statutory human authorship requirement for copyright registration. It derived this rule not from the Constitution or Copyright Act, but from its own non-binding agency materials, which include its compendium, guidance publications, and agency reports. The writ says that this requirement, in effect, denies copyright protection to works created through certain unclear uses of computer software. Just say theft. It's theft. Anyway, Dr. Thaler transparently disclosed that an AI system that he designed and used generated the image for which he sought copyright protection. The Copyright Office denied registration based on this human authorship requirement. In the time since Dr. Thaler's registration was denied, the Copyright Office has either rejected numerous applications for disclosing the use of AI or required applicants to disclaim content made using AI, and thus preventing registration of said content. Since this petition was denied this month, on the 3rd, AI-generated works continue to be ineligible for copyright. Huzzah! I'm happy about that. I am an artist, and I have watched artists get very upset about their works being stolen and used to train these AI models, and finding people creating works where they can find their work in it. These people basically push a button. They use a prompt. The prompt fills out whatever they want. Maybe they do some adjustments to it. I don't know. But essentially, the prompt fills out whatever it is, the software fills out whatever it is using stolen content. It's stolen. It should not be, no one should be able to copyright something that is based on stolen content. I'm sorry. That's it. I'm not sorry. That's it. It should be that way. So huzzah, AI generated works continue to be ineligible. All right, so for our final piece, oh my God, I don't remember how many we've got here. I think it was like 10 stories, might have been less. Anyway, I'm going to be putting these in for a while. This is Jackie and Shadow, the big bear eagles. I'm going to be putting this update at the end of these particular videos for a little while at least. And because there is basically a crowdfunding to try to save their habitat. So here is a big bear eagles update. At the last check, they have now 2 eggs, which they are being very vigilant about. Now, if any of you follow Jackie and Shadow, I'll put that link down below for their channel. You know that they had 2 previous eggs last month, and the ravens got them. But the thing about that, Jackie and Shadow were not spending nearly as much time in the nest with those 2 previous eggs as they have with these eggs. So that tells me that that initial clutch was likely unviable before the ravens got to it. Now we have a viable clutch. Somebody is always at the nest. One of the 2 of them is always at the nest. I always check on them. I always watch the little updates from the cam that they put the shorts in. And so there's always somebody there watching over the eggs and sitting on them. I love to watch them kind of wiggle down. When they go down to get on the legs, they get on the eggs and then they do this little wiggle movement to get comfortable. I know it's weird, but I really enjoy watching that. And I think it's kind of cute when they do the little wiggle. Right now, they are, like I said, they're alternating who's on the eggs. Nobody's leaving. They're doing very well so far. And so we're all on hatching watch. It'll be a few, but they're all on hatching watch. So right now, in the other part of the good news for them, the Save Moon Camp fund is just over $700,000 of the $10 million that they need to save the habitat. It doesn't seem like a lot, but that was done in a few days. I think maybe a week, maybe less than a week. So we're trying to save it from a nearby development that would risk a number of endangered species. It would risk their hunting grounds. And essentially, it just would be a big problem for the environmental and the ecosystem. So there's a link to donate down below if you want to help out. I hope some of you will. It can be as small as $5. Every little bit will help save Moon Camp and save their particular habitat for them for the future. Alrighty, so that is it for today's good news. And you will have to let me know what you think about the format so far. We did run a little long. Do you want, like I had longer blurbs there, or I went to the news to the news site? Getting to the news site is a little harder. So if you really want more from the newspaper, the news places that I'm getting them from, I will just make my blurbs longer. That is fine. I don't have a problem with that. Do you want all that longer information that I've been putting in? Or do you just want the short, fast, hey, we have geothermal energy. It's going to do 10,000 homes. It comes up from, the heat, and it's, a good ecosystem thing. Let me know what your preferences are. I will be happy to make that adjustment. So, with all of that, we're going to go ahead and sip our tea and go on and get out of here. I hope this makes your weekend just a little bit better and lifts your spirits just a bit more, makes you feel a little better. Yeah, let's hope. And you let me know what you think about the series, and if you want more or less news or whatever. You do all those things. like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Help us out here. And in the meantime, let's go ahead and give ourselves a sip of our tea, which has cooled down significantly, and move on. I will say, red velvet, if I remember correctly from making red velvet, is supposed to have more of a chocolate taste. Yeah, it says chocolate on there. I don't get a strong chocolate taste, but I'm not mad at it. It's a nice tea. It's one of my favorites from them. And even with it cooled down like now, because right now it's like lukewarm, it's not a bad tea. I'll have a link down below for you to find that as well. All right, so that is it for this particular video. And I hope you like what you've seen, and you will go ahead and do all the likes, subscribe, all those sharing, all those YouTube-y things that help us out around here. And in the meantime, as we all know, I love my children, I love my dragonettes, and I hope you have a good one.